So it's actually very interesting we're here today. It was 50 years ago that Srila Prabhupada first entered these quarters, this room, in 1974. So I was with him at that time as his personal servant. I had been with him more than 1 year. So this whole building, the Lotus building, was, of course, Srila Prabhupada's idea to house his disciples, so they would be somewhere comfortable here in Mayapur. So when Prabhupada came here at that time, in 74, it wasn't 100% finished, maybe 90% finished. As we'll see, there was no running water here. But Prabhupada, as soon as his room was available, he wanted to stay in his rooms. Never wanted to stay outside. His room finished, not finished, this is where he would stay. So when we first came in, of course, Mayapur this time of year is very, very beautiful. He came, Jayapataka Maharaj, Bhavananda Prabhu, Atreya Rishi Prabhu, myself, we were all here. And we came into the room and everybody was very pleased. Marble outside the veranda, polished very nicely, with the windows open, and there are no other buildings, so very nice breezes would come through. So everyone was glorifying Srila Prabhupada, what he had done. And they said, Prabhupada asked right away, everyone is comfortable? He always looked for his disciples to be comfortable here in India, his Western disciples. And of course, yes, Prabhupada, everyone's very happy. What you have done is so wonderful. Prabhupada said, I have given an idea. He said, but Krishna has done. He said, actually, he praised, he said, Srila Prabhupada, it is by his mercy, meaning Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And then he said it was the desire. He said of Bhakti Vinod Thakur that so many Vaishnavas would come from all over the world, stay here in Mayapur. So many people, different languages, all chanting Hare Krishna. He said it was the desire. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhakti Vinod Thakur predicted, he said, my Guru Maharaj, that someone would come. And then Prabhupada said, that person I may be. So it was the only time Srila Prabhupada ever gave reference that he was the person to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And as soon as he said that, he changed the subject, because he wouldn't let us deliberate on that, start to speak about it. So then he said to Jayapataka, are you planting such and such banana trees? And right away Jayapataka said yes, but Prabhupada was asking about a particular banana. And Jayapataka said, well, not yet, Prabhupada. And then he asked about the cows, and he said we should bring Jersey cow from the west. He said, and mix with the Sarabi cow. He said, because the Sarabi cow can take very high heat, and Jersey cow gives very nice creamy milk. So Prabhupada, he was not racist in any way, even with the cows. Everyone could serve Krishna, that was his way. And after everyone left, Prabhupada was just standing on the veranda and then looking out through the windows. The breezes are coming. And he looked at me. He said, so, Sruti Kirti Maharaj. I was Grahasta by now. But he said, Sruti Kirti Maharaj, he said, how do you like it here in Mayapur? Oh, Prabhupada, I said, like it very much. Even maybe I didn't. But I could see Prabhupada liked it very much. And we were just saying, he would lie there on this side. Sometimes he wouldn't be sitting in his asana here. He would lie head on the pillars and just stretched out. I never saw him more comfortable than here in Mayapur Dham. So one thing that happened, of course he's here in Mayapur, so he has some god brothers here, there. Prabhupada didn't go anywhere. Once, twice I was with him, he visited Sri Dham Maharaj. That was one god brother he visited in Navadvip. Otherwise he just stayed here. There's iskcon Mayapur. Huh? So one of his younger sannyasi godbrothers, he would come and see Prabhupada. And he would talk. Anyway, one time he left. Prabhupada's sannyasi godbrother left. Prabhupada was very upset. He called me in the room. He said, all he does is gossip. This is going on in this mutt, and his disciples are doing like this. He said, and your godbrothers are criticizing you, you don't even stop. At Lord Chaitanya's birthplace, at Sri Chaitanya Mat. Actually, Prabhupada stopped. He would stop in the car. He would tell the driver to stop on Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Road, and he would offer his obeisances. But he didn't get out of the car. He came right here. Prabhupada said, this place is Karmastan. He said, he pointed. He said, Janmastan. He said, this is Karmastan. He said, more important than the birthplace is the activities. So this was the place of preaching, all of Prabhupada's preaching. So anyway, he said to me, all my godbrother does is criticize and gossip. And Prabhupada said gossip. He didn't say talk prajalpa. He literally used the American word, English word, gossip. He said simply gossip. He said if he came here and spoke philosophy or discussed Lord Chaitanya's pastimes and his associates, he said I'd be very happy. But simply gossiping, he said I don't want to see him anymore. He said if he comes again, he said don't let him in. He's telling that to a 22-year-old boy. Huh? His godbrother, he's saying, you don't let him in, I don't want to see him, he only gossips. Very next day, I would sit out there. I was the guard, just sit outside Prabhupada's room. So it's afternoon time, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The sannyasi's walking up the stairs. So I'm at the top of the stairs. And he said, I'm here to see Swami Maharaj. And I'm like, Prabhupada gave me this instruction. I said, well, he's resting. Prabhupada was resting in the next room, next door, Prabhupada's bedroom. He was resting after lunch. So I said, he can't disturb him. So he got upset that I said this. He said, I'm here to see him. He said, anytime I come, he said, I can come and see him anytime I want. I said, yes, that's okay, but I said, he's resting right now. Anyway, this conversation's going back and forth, and he's very upset that this young Malecha boy's telling him he can't see his godbrother. So while the conversation's going on, it may be a little bit loud, Prabhupada opens the door from his bedroom. And he'd no shirt, no kurta, just a dhoti, all ruffled up from taking rest. He's fixing his dhoti. He had a big smile on his face. He said, oh, Maharaj. He said, I'll be right there. He said, go sit down. He said, I'll be right back. And he goes to the bathroom, just at the end of the hall. So then Maharaj and myself, we come into the room, and I could understand. He was very upset, that I wasn't giving him facility. So Prabhupada uses the bathroom, he comes back in, he comes and sit down. He didn't give him embrace. Krishna Das Babaji, when they saw each other, other godbrothers, they would hug and laugh. This, he just came and sat down. Oh, nice to see you. And immediately Maharaj, his godbrother, says, your servant, he told me I couldn't see you. He said he'd given me such a difficult time. Prabhupada looked at me. He said, I told you, whenever Maharaj comes, you let him into the room. And then he looked at me, he said, okay, you can go. So in this way, I knew what he said to me, but this was Prabhupada's nature. I gave a little talk yesterday, how compassionate he was. So they discussed. But this was Prabhupada's mood, never liked to hear criticism, gossip. Here in 1975, you can see everything, you hear everything here. There's something special here in a Lotus building. Every door closes, you can hear it. Prabhupada said his heart would stop. You see all these doors, they have the little blocks so they don't slam. Prabhupada said the thing he most disturbed, slamming doors. So all these were installed so nothing would slam. But you could hear So during the festival time, you see this Prabhupada's sitting room, his bedroom. The next room was where we stayed. Servant, secretary, Sanskrit editor. We would be right in the room next door. And then the rest of the rooms, GBC, sannyasi, temple presidents. So they come, just like now, they come together once a year, twice a year. So they're talking. And Prabhupada could hear they're talking. So he rings his bell one afternoon. I come into the room, offer a basin, says Prabhupada's sitting there. He said, tell them to be quiet. He's talking about his disciples. He said, tell them, be quiet or just chant Hare Krishna. He said, all talking nonsense, simply gossip. He said, I don't like to hear, because they were talking, this god brother did this one's here, this one left here, whatever topic was there. And then Prabhupada said, this gossip will destroy your Krishna consciousness. He said, tell them to stop. Now I was just a little servant boy. He's telling me to go tell these big sannyasi, GBC. So I went next door to the rooms and I said, Prabhupada said it's too loud. I said, keep it. I was afraid to even say everything he said to me. But I told him, you have to stop. Prabhupada's upset. So they stop. One time I would sit out there, one brahmachari in the morning, he is walking back and forth on the veranda chanting japa, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Go back and forth. I said, Prabhu, quiet. He looked at me. Who are you? I'm chanting japa. Prabhupada can hear my japa. He was very happy with himself. I said, okay. So, of course, a few minutes later, the bell rings. Prabhupada said, who is out there? Tell him he wants to chant. Go before the deities. He wants to chant so loud. So then a big smile. I go out. I said, Prabhupada said, get out of here. Go down to the temple, do your chanting. I always knew. But I was a little shy sometimes. I didn't have the nerve to say the things Prabhupada said to me, even though I should have, just simply follow his instruction. So that's what it was like here. Prabhupada loved Mayapur so much. I could see when he said, how do you like it here, Sruti Kirti? I could see how much Prabhupada liked it here. I never saw him more relaxed than sitting in his rooms here in Mayapur Dham. He bought Prabhupada this beautiful cashmere, santush, best cashmere, they say from the hairs of the goat, the Himalayan goat. Very, very rare. All hand embroidered. So he's going to give it to Prabhupada. But he had an agenda. He thought, I give this chadar to Prabhupada, and he's going to give me his old chadar. That was his plan. It was a very smart plan. So we all come in that day. These shelves were all open. They were actually, Prabhupada would put his chadar there, think different things like that would be there. So he came in, offers obeisances, and he puts this beautiful chadar down on Prabhupada's table. Prabhupada, he says, I want to offer you this chadar. So Prabhupada looks at it, he grabs it, and throws it on the shelf behind him, like it was nothing. And then he says, when I was a boy, his father, he was also in merchant, cloth business, Vaishya and merchant. He said, and his friend, he had a business with these chadars. He said, every year when I was a boy, I would get one of these chadars. So he just threw it behind him because he also knew what the devotee was trying to do. Prabhupada would say so many times, don't try to trick your spiritual master. He always knew what we were thinking. So he just threw it back there. There's an end story that happened in Vrindavan, but we won't discuss that part here. But Prabhupada immediately just deflated this devotee. So he couldn't say, I want your chadar, Prabhupada. 6 months later, I got that chadar. That's a different story, a different place. He would lie back, there's a picture, yeah, Prabhupada. Like I say, here more relaxed than anywhere I ever saw him when he would come to Mayapur. We know, of course, Vrindavan, he said Vrindavan was my home, Mayapur my place of worship, but it was also his home. These rooms very much were Prabhupada's home. So he was very, very happy here. And always so exciting here. Big, big storms, thunderstorms, big, big bugs, big, big mosquitoes. Everything in Mayapur was bigger, bigger than life. We live in Vrindavan. It's like a little place. Here, Mayapur, everything is big. Deities are big. Prasadam is big. Everything big. Next door, also so many things. So now we're in Srila Prabhupada's bedroom. So when I was with him in 1974, 1975, actually the bed was right here, going in the same direction, just in this spot. His choki, where he took prasadam, was just where it is. And of course, it was against the wall. Prabhupada would just sit on a straw mat. No one in the room, just Prabhupada taking prasadam. There was no talking. And very punctual. Prasadam, 1 o'clock. Everything had to be ready 1 o'clock. Prabhupada would come, sit down, take prasadam. So I was here, of course, in summertime. So I would bring everything, Prabhupada's plate, and I would actually fan him while he took prasadam. I was grahasta at the time. So the one day I'm fanning Prabhupada and he said, this is Vedic culture. He said, back then, he said, husband would take prasadam, wife would fan. He said the wife would cook everything for her husband, for the children, and when everyone was done, then she would take prasadam. He said that way there was always enough, because she took last, he said. He said, and this was wife's business. He's a very nice cook, and take care of the husband. Take care of the husband morning and take care of the husband night. He said this was Vedic culture. Every day, and ants, so many ants were there. But they were very respectful to Srila Prabhupada. So they would wait. They would literally surround his plate as he was eating. Prabhupada was never disturbed by them, never told me to do anything. And the more he ate, the longer time, they would get closer, closer. The minute he got up, everywhere, sweets, sabji, everything they were ready to take. So I would have to try to shoo them off to distribute prasadam. And of course, nicest time was in the evening. Because in the evening, Srila Prabhupada would sit in the bed, lie down in the bed, and I would give him massage. And here in Mayapur, like Juhu, big mosquitoes. So mosquito net would be over the bed. So in these places in India, usually I would just sit on the floor, do Prabhupada's legs, Prabhupada's feet, rub his feet. But here, I would have to be in the bed with Srila Prabhupada. So that was even more exciting. It was like I was in a tent, because the mosquitoes you had to keep out. But there were so many mosquitoes, even putting down the mosquito net, they would be inside. And I very happily, I'd be massaging Prabhupada, I'd see a mosquito. Prabhupada said, Manu Samhita says, you're being attacked, you can defend. He said, so it's okay. But he also appreciated when you could let them out without hurting them. And Prabhupada was very kind. And it was here, of course, the evening. We're going to go outside. We're going to see Prabhupada's bathroom, where one of the very exciting pastimes took place. We'll go outside. We'll see there'll be cobra. But it was here inside in the evening. Cobra happened in the afternoon. because there was no water in the bathroom, so I would have to bring buckets up from the well outside. So Prabhupada had water to use the toilet, had water for bathing. I would put the little heater in the bucket, 2 buckets of water for taking his bath after massage. So the one day, as we'll see, we'll go there, went into the bathroom, and I opened the door, and there's cobra. So of course I had bucket in my hand, so I'd drop the bucket, ran out, closed the door of the bathroom, and I ran onto the veranda. I'm going to see the veranda outside. And the first person I saw was Bhavananda. Prabhupada was giving darshan in his room. There's like 8-10 devotees in the room. Prabhupada just speaking with them, giving them encouragement. So I didn't want to disturb the darshan, so I told Bhavananda, I said, there's cobra in Prabhupada's bathroom. So when I told him, he ran into Prabhupada's room, yelling, Prabhupada, there's a cobra in the bathroom, a cobra in the bathroom. So I tried not to make a drama, but it became a big drama. So then we all get up, and we're all standing in different areas on the veranda. And Prabhupada, he's chanting, hand in his bead bag, quiet, and he's looking out, Chaitanya Mat, or Chaitanya's birthplace, and he's chanting quietly. All his disciples are, there's so much talk going on. We're a cobra, we had never even seen a cobra. So then they called Rasa Parayana. He was one of our Kshatriyas at that time. He was Mayapur Kshatriya. So he came up and he had this little knife. So everyone was afraid to go into the bathroom. But he opened the door. So we're all behind him as he goes in. And the cobra was still there. But it slithered into where the toilet room was. We'll see that perhaps in a few minutes. And it started going down the pipe. While all this is going on, talk is going on. How did a cobra get up to here? Up to the, second floor? Huh? Second floor. How did the cobra get up to the second floor? So they start speculating. Bhavananda say maybe it was one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, one of his envious godbrothers. He brought it and deposited it here. And they were saying maybe it was the communist. And the communists did it. So I had all these ideas of what it might be. We need to stop here. He's going to make Bhoga offering. We can go outside. Children. Okay. So this was the door, of course, that I opened up. This wall was not there. It actually extended the whole building. So there were 4 toilet stalls, 4 sinks like that throughout the whole. Now they put this wall there for this one spot. But it was here where I'm carrying the bucket of water. And as soon as I opened the door, cobra ran into this one toilet right there. So I immediately shut the door and ran. So that's when chaos ensued. So then we're all standing out here. Prabhupada quietly. At one point Prabhupada said, so many people for one snake. So many people have to take care of one snake. So this devotee Rasa Parayana, he goes inside and he has his knife. And the cobra literally started going down the pipe, which is how it got up. It came up the pipe. It was not a conspiracy, wasn't envious godbrothers, wasn't communist. He just came up the pipe. So then he managed to grab it by the tail. And he grabbed it and he killed it.
Really? I never heard that he killed it.
So he kills it. So then that was the end. So then everybody, we go back into Prabhupada's room. And we're all sitting down. And Prabhupada says, he's talking. And then we heard this sound, like a chirping, this noise. Prabhupada said, you hear that? By now we're all very frightened about cobras. Here in Mayapur, all us Westerners, all we know is cobras will kill you. So Prabhupada said, you hear that sound? He said, that's the snake bird. And then he tells us, at the end of its life, the snake, it grows wings. He said, and if you kill its mate, he said, on the dead snake, the imprint of the person who killed the snake is in the eyes of the snake. He said, and the partner who's alive sees that and will spend the rest of its life searching out that person to kill them. So all the devotees, they're, Prabhupada had fun with us, getting us very frightened so that we chant Hare Krishna very, very sincerely. So then that afternoon went on, the evening went on. So I showed you inside Prabhupada's bedroom. So that night, I'm massaging Srila Prabhupada under the mosquito net. And Prabhupada had a smile on his face. He said, so, he said, how are all the devotees? I said, oh, Prabhupada, there's an anxiety about the snake. He said, yes, he said. He said, but we don't care. He said, we're not worried. He said, if Krishna wants to save you, he said, no one can kill you. And if Krishna wants to kill you, no one can save you. And then I said, oh, Prabhupada, next to his room was our room. Servant, secretary, Sanskrit editor. So we all stayed in the same room. So I said, Prabhupada, Prajumna, our Sanskrit editor, he put his sleeping bag in between. Ours were next to one another, me and secretary. Prajumna put his sleeping bag in between them. Prabhupada laughed. He said, he's very intelligent. Because if any snake would come, he would be protected because he was in the middle. Prabhupada laughed. And then he told us a story. He said, they say here locally, he said one family, they insulted a Brahmin, offended a Brahmin, and the Brahmin cursed them. That your youngest child will be killed by the serpent. So he said every night, he said my godbrother told me, every night baby was in the middle of the room, in their place, and they all surrounded the baby so that the snake couldn't attack. But of course, while they were all sleeping, snake went in, bit the child and killed the child. He said, these things are going on. He said, but we're not afraid. He said, Krishna will protect us. And in fact, I always felt very protected by Srila Prabhupada. So also this whole veranda was a special place. Because every day, morning, lunchtime, we would take prasadam here. And Prabhupada, he would come out of his room, always hand in his bead bag, and he would just walk. He'd never say anything. But he would walk and he would watch. He would see what we were eating and who was here taking prasadam. One morning, we're taking prasadam. A young brahmachari, Bengali brahmachari, he's serving us. So he put something down, and Prabhupada went up to him and said something in Bengali right after he served me. So after Prabhupada walked away, I said, what did he say? He said, oh, Prabhupada told me to give you a lot of chapatis. So he wanted to see we were taken care of. Then another morning, we're here. And Prabhupada doesn't see his Sanskrit editor. He said, where's Prajumna? And me, he would always ask me these. I said, oh, Prabhupada, he's in his room. He said, well, why isn't he taking prasadam? I said, well, Prabhupada, he said if he takes prasadam, then he sleeps too much. Every day we're hearing Bhagavatam class, Prabhupada, eat less, sleep less. Prabhupada, And Prabhupada looked. He said, so where? I said, he's in the room, Prabhupada. So Prabhupada opened the door. At this time, a Sanskrit editor was Prajumna. All he was taking was 6 almonds. They would be blanched overnight. He read somewhere Ayurveda. All you need is 6, 8 almonds and some milk, and you can survive. So he decided he wasn't going to eat. He was going to reduce his sleeping, his eating and his sleeping. So Prabhupada opens the door, and Prajumna's back in the corner, and he's got all his books, Sanskrit books, Bengali books, all surrounding him. Prabhupada looks at him. He said, why aren't you taking prasadam? Prajumna said, Prabhupada, he said, if I take prasadam, then I sleep too much. Prabhupada said, I don't care, you sleep 10 hours a day. He said, you have to take prasadam. He said, how are you going to do your service if you don't take prasadam? He forced Prajumna to come out. So this is what it was like with Prabhupada. He would always tell us, we have to do like this, do like this, do like this. But we never understood it was a process, gradual process. Huh? And one day Prabhupada walked into the room next door where we were, his servants. And so myself, by this time, this is 1975, so Brahmananda Maharaj was his secretary. So Prabhupada looked in the room and he sees Brahmananda, he's sitting in the bed. He got a nice bed, mosquito net, got the fan overhead. And he looks in the corner and he sees me. I'm sitting down on the floor. I had nothing. I'm sitting on my chadar, just chadar sitting on the floor. And Prabhupada looked at Brahmananda, then he looked at me, and he looked at Brahmananda again. He said, actually, he said, Sruti Kirti is renounced. Ooh, Brahmananda's face. Then Prabhupada walked away, smile on his face, and Brahmananda looked at me. So we have very special relationship. Once Prabhupada called Brahmananda in. Call Brahmananda, he would say. That was my service. Prabhupada ring the bell, I would go in the room. And then he would tell me, get this person, get this person, get this person. So he said, call Brahmananda. So I called Brahmananda. Brahmananda offered obeisances and sat up, and Prabhupada looked at him. He said, you don't move a pin on my desk from here to here without asking my permission. That's what it was like to be with Srila Prabhupada. We didn't do anything without his permission. So everything is the same. Again, you have Prabhupada's rooms, then we stayed here. Then during festival time, the rest of the rooms were kept GBCs, sannyasis were there. And at the end was the bathroom for all of us. So that's what we used. But we had to be very quiet, because this was, you can see here, you hear everything, every sound. And Prabhupada very much liked quiet. Everything had to be quiet. So one of my services, of course, was to see that things were kept quiet. So one very nice pastime happened. So it was 1975, festival time. So now there's 500 devotees downstairs in the temple, Radhamadhava's temple room. And Prabhupada arrived, he gave class, we had kirtan, and during the kirtan, Prabhupada went into ecstasy. Now that means he closed his eyes and he just left external consciousness. This had happened a few times along the way coming to Mayapur. It happened in Caracas, happened in Miami, happened in Atlanta, happened at Bhaktivedanta Manor, all coming here. Prabhupada was in ecstasy. He had spread this movement all over the world. So he's downstairs sitting on the Vyasasana. He finished speaking, so it just got quiet. Prabhupada's eyes were closed. Everyone would get very quiet when we saw Prabhupada. Not even breathe if you could. You didn't move your hands in your bead bag. You didn't want to disturb him. But right behind his Vyasa-san was one sannyasi. So after what seemed like eternity, maybe it was 30 seconds, maybe it was 90 seconds, he starts chanting, Namo, very loud, and immediately Prabhupada's eyes opened. And then the kirtan went on. So by the time the kirtan ended, the devotees are all talking. Some of them are chastising this sannyasi. Why did you do that? Prabhupada was in ecstasy. We should have remained quiet. Others are saying, no, that was okay. We chant Hare Krishna. So this big discussion is going on. And Prabhupada's coming upstairs after the class. And behind them, all this activity is going on, all this talking, saying it should be like this, it should be like this. And they're talking to Brahmananda Maharaj, his secretary. Why did they do that? Prabhupada was in ecstasy. We should have remained quiet, which some of us thought like that. Anyway, it ended, and Prabhupada, he's just walking ahead. He's not outwardly noticing anything. Comes into his room and sits down. So immediately, myself and Brahmananda, we go in the room following Srila Prabhupada. And we offer obeisances. And Prabhupada's looking, he goes, yes? So Brahmananda starts talking. Prabhupada, you know, today in the temple, at the end of class, you went into ecstasy. And Prabhupada's looking at us like, we're very goofy. He said, so when that happens, what should we do? And Prabhupada looked, he said, I don't do that very often. And again, Brahmananda said, yes, Prabhupada, but when it does happen, what should we do? Should we remain quiet? Should we chant Hare Krishna? Prabhupada said, just chant Hare Krishna. He dismissed the whole thing. Just chant Hare Krishna, he said. He didn't even want to discuss about it. Prabhupada had such humility. And in some ways, he had this shyness. He was embarrassed that we were even discussing such a thing. He said, just chant Hare Krishna. So he just dismissed the whole thing. But for us, it was the most wonderful thing to see Prabhupada just go internally. He never made a show, but we could understand. When he did it, we all felt ecstatic. We would get overflow of Prabhupada's ecstasy. So all these things happened right here, 50 years ago when Prabhupada was here. So all these places, very, very special. Prabhupada's rooms. I just see this floor. I become happy. We know Prabhupada's lotus feet, walking up and down so many times. You see here, we have photos. Photos of the stairway. The stairway here. Everywhere was special. So every morning, as soon as the sun would rise, Prabhupada would go on the morning walk. You'll see the photos walking down. We walk down the stairs, walk down, and just as we get down the stairs, there's about a dozen devotees. So we came here first time, 1974. So it was October. So now I'm a grahasta. I had been away from Prabhupada for 8 months, got married, and I left with Prabhupada, and my wife, she was going to have a baby. So anyway, one day, it's October 4th, I get a telegram. Sruti Kirti, your wife has had a son. So she was in Los Angeles, California. She gave birth. 4:15 in the morning is when they had Mangalarti here in Mayapur at that time. So I get this telegram, my wife had a son. So of course, here it was afternoon. So I run into Prabhupada's room, offer obeisances, and Prabhupada's looking at me. I said, yes. I said, Prabhupada, my wife had a son. said, oh, very nice, he said. Then he looked at me. He said, you can call him Mayapur Chandra. He said, you'll not find that name anywhere. He said, you'll find Navadweep Chandra, Nadir Nimai, Nimai Pandit. He said, but this name I've made up. He said, you can call him that. And then he told me to call one of the Bengali brahmacharis. He called him up. So Prabhupada told him, go to Navadweep. Prabhupada gave him some Lakshmi. And he bought the very first gift from my son. He got silver ankle bells and bracelets. Silver, what do you call? Yeah, bracelets to put around his wrist. So they were the very first gifts for my son. So also during that time, as many of us did, I got really bad dysentery. So again, Prabhupada called one of the brahmacharis, Bengali brahmacharis, come up to his room. Prabhupada sent him to Navadweep to get garlic. He told me to take cloves, raw garlic. He said, you take 2-3 cloves of raw garlic, it'll be finished. So I told that story once, 10 years ago or so. And when I told the story, my god sister, she said, Prabhupada said the same thing for me when I had dysentery. Prabhupada gave other remedies for dysentery, but for her and me, he gave this remedy. The thing that was funny, we were both Italian descent. We were known to use lots of, but he gave it to us as medicine. And actually it worked just like that. Immediately, dysentery was gone. So then these stairs, I was saying, we'll take a shot of the stairs as we go down. So every morning Prabhupada would walk down the stairs, and he sees everything. He knows everybody that's here, who's present, who's not present, who's at his class, who's not at his class. So he walks down the stairs and he said, where is so-and-so Maharaj? So somebody said, oh, Prabhupada, he's not feeling well. Prabhupada looked, just shook his head. And then I said, Prabhupada, he has morning sickness. Morning sickness is a very funny term they use in the West. Morning sickness is something women get when they're pregnant, morning sickness. So I said that to Prabhupada, he has morning sickness. Prabhupada laughed. He said, yes, morning sickness. He said, actually, if someone doesn't come to the morning program, he said, no breakfast. He said, if they don't come to the morning program, no breakfast prasadam. He said, that should be the policy. And we used to try to institute that policy in our iskcon society. So now we have Prabhupada's room here. So we have a different view, other veranda. Now, of course, things are very different now. It's all been expanded. But this was the end of the Lotus building. So just like it was on that side, everything was open, nice marble floors. And it was Prabhupada's veranda. Nobody else would be walking around. So one thing I saw, Prabhupada would come here on the veranda. He could stand here and he would just look out. And of course, at that time, there was nothing. There were just rice paddies where he would take his morning walk every day. I don't know what Prabhupada saw, but he was very happy to be here looking out the side. And now we see, of course, the TOVP is right there. So whether Srila Prabhupada would see what was going on, he knew, of course, TOVP was coming. It was his desire. He gave it to Ambarish Prabhu to see that it was fulfilled. He knew he could get it done. So anyway, Prabhupada was very happy to walk about on both sides on these verandas and be looking to see what was going on. But again, at that time it was quite different, very open. All the breezes coming in from the open fields that were there. But Prabhupada was very much happy, inspired to have this place Lord Chaitanya's birthplace, to establish his iskcon center here. What to speak of, to establish this TOVP, which he wanted so much. So all these things he could see. He could understand the future, his desire. In Vrindavan, we're very aware, in the 10th canto, I believe 34th chapter, 36th chapter, Prabhupada said a devotee had a desire to build a temple. And of course, by Prabhupada's desire, his desire alone, Krishna Balaram Mandir sprang up by the desire of a devotee. So in the same way, everything going on here is because of Srila Prabhupada's desire. And the more we recognize that, easier it is to fulfill his desires. So here in Mayapur is very much his desire to see that millions of people are coming here to chant Hare Krishna. Desire of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisaranta Saraswati Thakur, and of course Srila Prabhupada's own desire, so much so to develop this place, Mayapur city, that so many people would be coming here to chant. So this is that area. So everywhere, it wasn't just Prabhupada's sitting room, Prabhupada's bedroom, this whole Lotus building was Srila Prabhupada's. We're going this way. Now, of course, this is all set up for the GBC, which first GBC meetings were also here, right here in the Lotus building. And you could see, from here, you could see TOVP was right here. This is where Prabhupada, he would just go down the stairs on the other side, and his morning walk would just be in these fields. And all the big leaders, they would go on the morning walk. And Prabhupada would walk along the ridges. We had the rice paddies, damp, wet, watery. And he would walk on the ridges, and other devotees, they would be surrounding. And it was here in 1975, very famous morning walk, where Prabhupada was walking, and he soon said, soon there'll be a war. That's all the devotees had to hear, that soon there would be a war. Prabhupada said, World War III. Prabhupada said, yes. He said it would happen between India and Pakistan. So all the devotees, they got so excited. They started asking Prabhupada so many questions. What do we do? And Prabhupada said, after the war, preaching will be very good. And at that time, of course, he stressed the importance of our farm community. He said people will come by the millions to live on the farms. And the devotees, well, what should we do to prepare? And finally, Prabhupada could see everybody starting to think, going to be a war, or getting anxiety in this. And Prabhupada said, we don't care. He said, if the bomb comes, and Prabhupada looked up in the sky, he said, if we see the bomb coming, we'll say, here comes Krishna. And that was the end of the discussion. He said, we're not afraid. We're not afraid to die. He said, even the bomb comes, that's Krishna in the form of the bomb. So then he put an end to all of everybody's speculation, everybody's anxiety, what to do, what not to do. He said, we just chant Hare Krishna. So this was Prabhupada, our fearless founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. So now this Mayapur, by Prabhupada's desire, continues to expand. Okay, we see these plate and katuris I'm familiar with. This is what Prabhupada would take his lunch on even then, 1975. So they've been here. The shoehorn, I said, being with Prabhupada, everything, you always be conscious. One thing they say, most important thing to be with Prabhupada was attentive. And we learn the whole process of Krishna consciousness he showed you, because to be attentive was everything. So even Prabhupada, of course, he never left his room without shoes. Prabhupada didn't walk around anywhere barefoot. In Vrindavan, he didn't walk barefoot in Vrindavan. He didn't walk barefoot he always had his slippers or his shoes to put on. So these shoes like this, you had to be very expert. Because Prabhupada would walk into his shoes. He didn't stop. He walked. It was part of his morning walk. So he would put one foot out, and you would have to quickly slip the shoehorn at the back of the shoe. And his next foot would go there. He would be taking his next step already. He didn't just give you time to put the shoes on. You literally had to do it while he was walking. So this was the little things as a servant that you had to become, hopefully you would become expert at. So even putting on shoes was an experience as Prabhupada walked along. He expected you to know everything. He said, servant, first-class servant, he said, knows what to do without being asked. You should know everything. You should know what time he eats, when he takes bath, how hot the water should be. Everything was the duty of the servant to know. And that's training for us, devotees of Krishna. We should know what to do, how to please Krishna. So the whole business of the spiritual master is to teach you every step of the way how to be attentive. Because we read all these stories. It's all about the gopas, the gopis, everyone attentive 100% of the time, not 1 second. They're not thinking about Krishna, always thinking about Krishna. Not just thinking about him, how to please Krishna. So for us as servants, as disciples of Srila Prabhupada, followers of Srila Prabhupada, our whole business is how to please Srila Prabhupada. Not just say, want blessings. We hear this, I want blessings. Please bless me. All the blessings are there through service. As, of course, Prabhupada told me, service is love. He told me once when I was having, he said, you just do your service, everything will be all right. Everything comes through our service. And that service doesn't just mean talking about, it means doing things, action. Like Prabhupada said, this karmastan, action, iskcon Mayapur, preaching activities. He said, most important thing. Even though we have the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, he said, this place more important, because here the preaching is going on. So this is our business. So all these things become important because they belong to Srila Prabhupada, who was most active, most compassionate person, giving everyone holy name. We heard that this morning, Radhanath Maharaj. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam. So all these things are important because they belong to this person, Srila Prabhupada, who brought everyone to Mayapur, everyone to Vrindavan. Brought Vrindavan to everyone all over the world. Jai, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai. Then there's one other thing here. This described here. This carving used to be on this wall before all the book display was there. 1975, this carving was there. Prabhupada very much liked this. And it says sandalwood. Could be teak wood, but it was all covered in sandalwood oil. Prabhupada said it becomes sandalwood by the use of the sandalwood oil. But very beautiful carving. So this has been here since 1975. And Prabhupada liked very much. And as I said, he would lie here, put his head on the cushion, very happily just rest here in Mayapur Dham.
कृपा बिंदु दिया करो ए दासे तृण पे खाते ही ना
सकल सहने बल दिया करो निज मान स्पृहा है ना
सकल सहने बल दिया करो निज मान स्पृहा है ना
गुरुदेव कृपा बिंदु दिया करो ए दासे तृण पे खाते ही ना सकल सम्मान करते शकाते देहनाथ जाता जाथ
सकल सम्मान करिते शकति देहनाथ जथा जाथा
तब तो गायबो हरि नाम सुखे अपराध हवे हाथ
तबे तो गाइबो हरि नाम सुखे अपराध हमे हाटा
गुरुदेव कृपा बिंदु दिया करो ए दासे ऋण पे खाते ही ना
One of the most important things here was the cleanliness. Prabhupada liked everything spotless. And the best person was Bhavananda. That was his responsibility. Everything, every day, spotless. And Prabhupada, one day he came down the stairs, and of course we went into it's still the temple room, Radha Madhava's temple room, and it wasn't clean. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning. Prabhupada says, why isn't it clean? And devotees, well, Prabhupada, everyone's chanting japa. Prabhupada just shook his head. Some things needed to be done right away in the morning. Pujari had their service, cleaners. The devotees should be cleaning. Everything always clean. So to be around Srila Prabhupada also, we had to be very aware. Everything clean. No prasadam plates lying around, no cups, not even a bead bag lying around. Everything in its proper place. So of course each morning, as the sun was rising, Prabhupada would walk down the stairs, walk down these stairs, and this is where the morning walk. This is where our morning walk would begin. You see the photos, some of the photos, Prabhupada going up and down these stairs. So everything here is holy place. Everything is tirtha. Mayapur is tirtha, so many ways. But we know Prabhupada's footsteps right here on these stairs. So we worship everything here by Prabhupada's mercy. And like I say, morning walk went out this direction. And Prabhupada's morning walk could be hour and a half. But here he didn't have to take a car to go somewhere to walk. This was the one place. Prabhupada would just walk out of his room and the morning walk began. So Mayapur was a very special place. And this Lotus building, of course, is the most special place for us in Mayapur because this was Prabhupada's residence. Prabhupada's design, everything about Lotus building is special. Bye.